All right, give me 5 minutes and I'll show you how to balance analysis and action so you can maximize your chances of solopreneur success. And if you don't know me, my name is Zach Moninger, and I built on the corporate world years ago to run my own successful six-figure solo service business. And now I'm showing other aspiring solopreneurs how they can do the same. This week's topic is analysis versus action. Let's dig in. Okay, so we kicked off this week with a quote from former President Dwight D. Eisenhower. In preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And I really, really love this quote because people who really like to take action and don't like to stop and wait and figure out a plan, they don't see the value in a plan because they know that plans change. But what they don't realize is that the real value comes from the process of planning. That's one of the things we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's start with this little sketch that I shared on Twitter and LinkedIn about analysis versus action. And so over here on the left, we have analysis paralysis, and over here at the right, we have action without purpose. And then going this way, we talk about the probability of success. If you live down here, you sort of know everything, but you don't do anything. And if you live over here, you do everything, but you don't know anything. If you want to maximize your probability of success, you need to try to live somewhere here in the middle where you balance these two things, where you don't get stuck in that analysis paralysis loop, but you also are not taking action without any purpose. That's what we're seeking to do, right? We want to learn to operate in that zone where we maximize our probability of success. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to admit that my personality, I live on the left. I have to push myself towards the middle. And I think most people that end up listening to me or subscribing to my newsletter probably going to have that kind of mentality too. We're going to be pushing ourselves towards this middle. Now, lots of these guru influencer types love to just discuss the value of action. Just do it. Start today. Stop thinking and start doing, because that's what their audience is. Their audience is not doing anything, right? So there's value in that. Now, actually, I talked about this in the newsletter. I actually rewrote this newsletter the last minute before it went out because I kind of had this aha moment, right? That was my sort of realization that the audience I was speaking to probably lives over here. And I'd spent half the letter talking to folks over here. Well, what I figured out was the people over here, they don't have time to read my newsletter, right? They don't have time for this. They're too busy doing stuff. So I kind of had to rewrite it. So what is our ethos? If we're the people living on that left side, who are we? We're the planners, the strategists, the thinkers. We're prone to the analysis paralysis, but when we do act, we do so with vision and purpose and clarity. And we don't just dive in and hope for the best. So we're not going to talk about the other side of the curve. Now, there are many paths towards success. If I ever act like my way is the only way, you should smack me and smack anyone that acts that way. Success paths are personal. If you can't do it on your terms, then what's the point? When I was starting my engineering services business, my biggest fear wasn't failure. I was going back to 9 to 5 with a good salary and benefits. That's a first world problem, right? My nightmare scenario was getting trapped in a business that was worse than my job ever was, working 70-hour weeks, terrible clients, making less cash than my old job, being trapped in a prison I built for myself. So I'm not scared of taking risks, but they have to be calculated. So my plan was pretty simple, right? I would model the business I wanted. I would design a business that could achieve that model. I would develop a framework so I could implement that model and strategic plan. And then I would succeed or fail on my own terms. And my deep suspicion is that most anyone who sticks around and keeps listening to me or reading my newsletter, it's probably with me on that. They're on that left end of the curve. And they also want these things. So they can drive towards that action with purpose. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be writing about. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Our goal is to find that balance between taking action and doing the right things and just getting shit done and finding the proper balance so that we don't get stuck in that analysis paralysis loop, right? But the other thing I want to stress is these things we're talking about, they are taking action. Modeling your business, that is taking action. Developing a strategic plan, that is taking action. Implementing a launch framework, that is taking action. So that's how we're going to do things here. That doesn't mean that the throw shit at the wall and see what sticks crowd is wrong, because they'll find stuff that sticks. But they're going to fail a lot. We won't fail as often because we're going to know how to mitigate risks and learn from others. So that's kind of my first big takeaway here. It's okay to be methodical. It's okay to spend time planning, strategizing, thinking. Those are action steps. Now, we open this with a quote from Dwight Eisenhower. Preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. I really want that quote to sear into your brain, because your plan is not going to work, but the process of planning is what prepares you for the challenges ahead. It's what wires your brain to have thought about these things in advance. If you ever listen to football coaches talk, they say things, right? You don't win the game on Sunday. You win the game Monday through Saturday. Nothing great is accomplished without putting in the work. Your plan won't be perfect, but the process of planning prepares you for what's ahead. Nobody wins the Super Bowl because they just showed up on Sundays. That's not how it works. It's the planning and preparation. You don't make it to the moon by just shooting rockets in random directions until you get lucky and you find the right trajectory. Of course not. So that's what my ethos is about. That's what Cube Breakers is going to be about, this newsletter, these little video tidbits. It's going to be about doing the upfront work to maximize our chances of success when we do. All right, so before you go, dig around this post or the description, and you can find a link to subscribe to this newsletter via email, or if you prefer video audio format, then make sure to follow or subscribe to wherever you're watching this. So until next time, Zach out.